Have you ever knocked on the wrong door and it changed your whole life? On that rainy night, Maya only wanted a night shift to cover her rent. But one wrong number in the elevator took her straight into the suite of a VIP guest, a man she would later find out is the billionaire owner of the entire hotel group. One wrong knock leads to quick dinners in room 310, crumpled lobby sketches on the wall, and a speech that forces an entire industry to rethink how it treats the invisible people. Before we dive deeper into this story, tell me where you're listening from. And don't forget to subscribe because I have a special surprise waiting for you tomorrow. In a moment, you'll see, sometimes to meet the right person, you have to open the wrong door first.
On a rainy Thursday night in New York City, a young woman stands under the awning of a luxury hotel, holding a folder so tight that the cheap cardboard bends under her fingers. Her name is Maya. Her sneakers are still damp from the subway stairs. Her hair is frizzed from the fog. Her last $20 are folded inside her wallet, along with a wrinkled receipt for the overdue rent notice that is sitting on her kitchen table. Inside the glass doors, the hotel lobby glows like another world. Marble floors, soft jazz from hidden speakers, fresh flowers that probably cost more than her grocery budget for the week. People move through the space like they belong there, like the air conditioning and the polished brass were designed for them. Maya pauses at the threshold and takes one long, steady breath. "Just smile," she whispers to herself. "Just one night, one job. You can do this." She pushes the door open. Warm air and expensive perfume wash over her. Her reflection flashes in the glass beside men in tailored suits and women in designer dresses, and she feels for a second like a glitch in the picture. Her black thrift store blazer does not quite fit at the shoulders. The sleeves are a little too short. The folder in her hands is all she has to make herself look official. Inside that folder is a simple resume for a hotel assistant position. And tucked behind that, clipped at the back where most people would never flip to, is the real thing she cares about: sketches, floor plans, tiny hand-drawn details of hotel rooms and lobbies that exist only in her imagination. She doodles them between shifts at the diner and overnight deliveries. The email said there would be a late interview with a night manager. "If you can start this week," the woman had written, "we can talk about a part-time position." A part-time position means rent, medication for her mother back home, maybe a week where she does not have to choose between bus fare and dinner. The front desk is busy, but the woman at the counter looks up with a practiced professional smile. "Welcome to the Mercer Grand. Do you have a reservation?" Maya shifts the folder in her hands. "Hi, I am here for an interview, the night manager. Someone emailed me." The woman at the desk types quickly, eyes on the screen. A beat passes, another. The smile tightens. "Yes, of course. Interview. One moment." She glances to the side, to another employee, then leans in a little as if she is suddenly in a hurry. "Take the elevator to the 32nd floor," she says, tapping a key card on the desk without really looking at Maya. "Room 310. They are expecting you." The words "they are expecting you" ring in Maya's ears like a promise. She nods too fast, whispers a thank you, and nearly drops the key card before clutching it properly. Her heart is thumping in her chest as she crosses the lobby, past a couple arguing quietly in evening wear and a bellman rolling a cart stacked with designer luggage. In the mirrored elevator, it is just her and the hum of the cables. She smooths her hair, breathes out, opens the folder and checks again. Resume, copy of her identification. The sketches peek out at the back, pencil lines smudged from too many times pulling them in and out. "Do not show those," she tells herself. "They only want someone to answer phones, fold towels, pour coffee. They do not care about your imaginary lobby layouts." The elevator dings softly on the 32nd floor. The carpet here is thicker, the air cooler, the lighting softer. Doors line the hallway, all identical, all quiet. Maya looks down at the card in her hand. 32nd floor, room 310. She walks, counting softly under her breath. 306, 308, 310. She swallows. Her palms are damp now. The resume inside the folder has started to curl at the edges from the humidity. Smile. Look them in the eyes. You need this, she reminds herself. She lifts her hand and knocks, 3 polite taps. There is a pause. For a moment, she hears only the air conditioner humming above her head and the faint echo of a television somewhere further down the hall. Then the lock clicks. The door swings open. He is not what she expects. No stiff suit, no company badge, no clipboard. Just a man in his late 30s in a simple gray t-shirt and dark pants, sleeves pushed up to his forearms, hair slightly messy as if he has run his hands through it too many times today. The glow from the room behind him spills over his shoulder. An open laptop on the desk, a city skyline outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, half an untouched room service tray. He looks at her folder, then at her face. "Hi," he says, voice low and a little tired. "Can I help you?" Maya straightens instinctively. "Yes, I am so sorry to bother you. I am here for the interview with the night manager for the assistant position." She holds the folder out like an offering. For a split second, something like amusement flickers in his eyes. It is gone almost as quickly as it appears. "The interview," he repeats, leaning casually against the doorframe. His gaze drops to the logo on the folder, then back to her determined face. He knows instantly that there has been a mistake. She has the wrong door. Room 310 is not a manager's office. It's his suite, his temporary home while he is in town to negotiate the final stages of a deal that will decide the future of this entire hotel group. He could easily tell her. He could correct her, apologize, send her back to the lobby. He could close the door and go back to his spreadsheets and his late-night phone calls to board members in different time zones. Instead, he finds himself pausing. There is something in the way she clutches that folder, in the way her voice shakes a little, but she stands straight anyway. She looks like someone who has had a very long year and is still somehow trying. "The assistant position," he says slowly. "Right, you brought your resume." She nods, hopeful, eyes brightening with the smallest spark of relief. "Yes, I know it is late. The email said the manager works nights, so I came straight from my other job." There's a small smear of what might be coffee on her cuff. The cheap blazer, the worn sneakers, the way she apologizes simply for existing in this hallway. He almost smiles. "Come in," he hears himself, stepping aside. "Let us talk." Maya hesitates, then steps over the threshold into the suite, clutching the folder to her chest like a shield. The door closes softly behind her, shutting out the quiet hallway. The wrong door, the wrong room, the wrong man. Or maybe the most important mistake of her life. Before we continue with Maya's story, if you enjoy emotional millionaire romance stories about class differences, kindness, and second chances, remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you do not miss the next chapters of this journey. Now, let us go back to our main character. Maya stands just inside the suite, unsure where to put her hands. Her shoes sink into the thick carpet. The city glows through the windows behind him, a sweep of lights and motion that feels a world away from the cramped apartment she left an hour ago. He gestures toward the small sitting area. "Please," he says, "have a seat." She crosses the room carefully, aware of every step, every rustle of her blazer. She sits on the edge of the armchair, folder balanced on her knees, shoulders tight. He stays standing for a moment, studying her like he is trying to decide something, then takes the seat across from her. Up close, he looks even more out of place for a night manager. His watch is understated but expensive. His laptop on the desk is open to what looks like spreadsheets and contracts, not staff schedules. There's a half-finished cup of black coffee on the table, still warm. He nods toward the folder. "Can I see your resume?" "Yes, of course." Her fingers fumble as she opens it, sliding the simple 2-page resume free. A corner of the sketches at the back catches on the folder. The paper sticks, then pops loose with a soft tearing sound that makes her wince. One of the drawings slips out and lands face up on the coffee table. It is a lobby, not this lobby, but one she has imagined for years. Softly curved couches, warm lighting, plants that feel like a small forest instead of stiff decorations. She reaches for it, cheeks hot. "I'm sorry, that's nothing, just something I draw when I'm bored on the train." But his hand is faster. He picks up the page carefully, like it is fragile. "You drew this?" "Yes, but it's not professional. I know the job is probably about answering phones or cleaning rooms, not redesigning the hotel." His eyes move across the lines. He notices the way she has drawn sight lines from the entrance to the elevators, how the seating areas create both privacy and openness. He notices things only someone who spends a lot of time thinking about space would notice. "What made you draw it like this?" he asks. Maya swallows. No one ever asks that. People usually say, "Nice doodle," and move on. "I wanted it to feel like a place where people can breathe," she says slowly, "not just pass through. Somewhere that doesn't make you feel small just because you don't have a suit." He looks up at her, and for a second she wonders if she has said too much. "That is very specific," he says. She almost laughs. "I spend a lot of time in places where I feel small." He holds her gaze for a moment, then sets the drawing back on the table with care. "Tell me about your experience," he says, taking her resume. The word experience makes her want to apologize again. "There's not much," she admits. "I wait tables, I worked at a front desk for a budget motel for a year. I can handle phones, bookings, check-ins, complaints. I am good at calming people down, and I don't panic when something breaks. Usually I just fix it." He scans the line.
"Because you pay better than the diner," she says before she can soften it. Then she catches herself. "I mean, because I like hospitality. I like making people feel welcome, and I cannot keep up if I carry 3 jobs forever." Her honesty surprises even her. There is something about his quiet attention that makes it hard to hide behind polite phrases. He leans back, studying her like he is weighing risk against opportunity. "How many hours are you looking for?" he asks. "Any," she says quickly. "Nights, weekends, early mornings, holidays. I can juggle schedules. I just need something steady for a while." He nods slowly, his thumb tapping once against the edge of her resume. "In your ideal world," he asks, "if money and rent and all the practical things disappeared for a second, what would you actually want to do?" The question startles her. This is not how interviews go. She looks at the drawing without meaning to. "I would design places like this," she says quietly. "Hotels, lobbies, cafes, spaces where people feel like they matter, even if they only stay for one night." He watches her face as she says it. The way her voice steadies when she talks about design. The way her shoulders relax, like she forgets for a moment how uncomfortable the blazer is. "What stops you?" he asks. She lets out a breath that sounds a little like a laugh and a little like defeat. "Tuition, time, rent, life," she says. "I have a sketchbook instead of a degree. That does not exactly impress hiring managers." He is quiet for a long beat. The city hums outside. Somewhere down below, a car horn bleats, distant and small. "My name is Adrian," he says finally. "Adrian Cole." "Maya," she replies, even though he never asked. "Maya," he repeats, like he is testing how it sounds. "Here is what I can do. I will speak to some people about your resume and about this drawing." He taps the sketch on the table. The hotel can always use people who see things differently. Her eyes widen. You think I have a chance? I think you have something worth taking seriously," Adrian says. His tone is calm, matter-of-fact, the way he speaks in boardrooms when he has already made a decision. "Leave your folder with me tonight. I will make sure it gets to the right place." Every instinct in her tells her to keep the folder close. It is the only copy of some of her sketches. But she also knows this might be the first sliver of a door that has opened for her in a very long time. She hesitates, then nods. "Okay," she says. "Thank you for taking the time. I know you are busy." "You have no idea," he replies softly, almost amused. "But I am glad you knocked." She stands, suddenly aware that her legs feel a little unsteady. He walks her to the door, opens it, and the quiet hallway returns, cool and neutral. "Good night, Maya," he says. "Get some rest." "You too, Adrian," she answers, the name feeling strange and familiar at the same time. She steps back into the hallway, and the door closes with a soft click that echoes louder in her chest than in her ears. As she walks toward the elevator, empty hands swinging at her sides, she cannot tell if she has just ruined her chances completely, or if something impossible has just begun. Inside the suite, Adrian picks up the sketch again, studying the lines with a faint, thoughtful smile. The anonymous billionaire in the hotel suite is no longer thinking about contracts or profit margins. He is thinking about a girl with damp sneakers who wants to build spaces where no one feels small. The next morning, Maya woke up before her alarm, heart pounding like she had been running. For one disorienting second, she stared at the cracked ceiling of her apartment, listening to the distant rumble of trucks on the street below, and wondered if she had dreamed the entire thing. The hotel, the wrong door, the man named Adrian in the expensive suite who had said, "I am glad you knocked." Then she rolled over and saw her small wicker chair by the window. The chair was empty. Her folder was not there. The panic hit fast, sharp and cold. She sat up, blanket falling to her waist. No, no, no. She checked the floor, the tiny kitchen table, the counter by the sink. Nothing. The folder with her only printed resume and most of her favorite sketches was still in room 310, on the 32nd floor of a world she did not belong to. For a moment, she pictured him casually tossing it into the trash after she left, or forgetting it on the desk and a housekeeper scooping it up with old receipts and room service slips. She squeezed her eyes shut and forced herself to breathe. "You left it there on purpose," she reminded herself. "He said he would show it to someone. He sounded serious." Her phone buzzed with the cruel reality of her day, a reminder for her shift at the diner. Rent due in 5 days, a text from her landlord asking politely but firmly about the balance. There was no time to sit and worry. 2 hours later, she was at the diner, tying on an apron that had seen better days, carrying coffee pots between chipped tables. The smell of grease and burnt toast settled into her head. Her coworker, Lena, slid past her with a tray of pancakes. "You look like you saw a ghost," Lena fed quietly. Maya poured coffee for a construction worker who paid in crumpled bills. "Just did something stupid last night," Maya answered. "Define stupid." "Trusted a stranger with my whole life in paper form." Lena raised an eyebrow, but the bell over the door jingled and a new wave of customers came in. There was no time for follow-up questions. The morning blurred into a series of orders, refills, and automatic "thank you, have a nice day" phrases that left her throat dry. Around 11:30, when the rush had finally slowed, Maya stepped into the narrow back hall to grab extra sugar packets. Her phone vibrated inside her apron pocket. Unknown number. She wiped her hand on her answered. "Hello? Hi, may I speak with Maya Brooks?" a woman's voice asked, crisp and professional. "This is Maya. This is Claire from the Mercer Grand Hotel. I am calling about your interview." Maya pressed her back against the wall, the word interview making her knees feel weak. "Yes, of course. I am so sorry about last night. I hope I did not cause any trouble. I may have gone to the wrong room." There was a pause on the other end, like the woman was choosing her words carefully. "That is actually what I wanted to talk to you about," Claire said. "We did not have you scheduled for an official interview with our night manager. However, we received a request this morning from one of our long-term guests. He asked that we contact you directly." Maya frowned. "A guest?" "Yes, Mr. Adrian Cole. He said you met last night. He has asked if you would be available to work as his temporary assistant during his stay." For a second, all she could hear was the buzzing of the old fluorescent light above her. "His assistant," she repeated. "Yes, it would be a short-term contracted position through the hotel. Administrative tasks, scheduling, some errands. We can go over the details in person if you are interested. Are you able to come by this afternoon?" Maya looked through the small window of the kitchen door. The diner was half full. The cook was flipping burgers on the grill. "I can be there by 3, she says before she could talk herself out of it. "Perfect," Claire replied. "Please check in with staff at the Human Resources office on the 2nd floor when you arrive." They ended the call. Maya stared at the screen until it went dark. Lena found her still in the hallway a minute later. "You look worse," Lena said. "That cannot be good." Maya let out a breath that was half laugh, half disbelief. "I think I just got a job," she said. "I just don't know what it is yet."
By 3 o'clock, she was back in the lobby of the Mercer Grand, the same marble floor and soft jazz, but this time her heart was beating even harder. She had changed into her only decent blouse, the one she usually saved for holidays, and fixed her hair as best she could in the fogged bathroom mirror at the diner. The Human Resources office felt smaller than the lobby, but no less intimidating. Certificates on the wall, a desk with organized stacks of paper. Claire, a woman in her mid-30s with sharp eyes and a neat bun, sat across from her with a file open. "So," Claire said, offering a polite smile, "you made quite an impression on Mr. Cole." Maya felt her face heat. "I am still not entirely sure how," she admitted. "I thought he was the night manager. I knocked on his door by mistake." Claire's smile twitched, like she was trying not to show surprise. "Mr. Cole is not hotel management," she said. "He is an important guest. He is here for business involving our ownership group." Important? Business? Ownership? The words floated in the air, heavy but vague. Claire outlined the role quickly. She explained that Maya would help coordinate Mr. Cole's schedule, manage some calls, assist with documents, and occasionally run errands within the hotel. The pay was more than the diner and motel combined. The hours were intense but temporary. "You understand that confidentiality is very important," Claire said. "You will be required to sign an agreement." Maya nodded, barely trusting herself to speak. "I understand," she said. A few signatures later, she stood outside the elevator again, a temporary staff badge clipped to her blouse. The same elevator, the same mirrors, a different version of herself staring back. When the doors opened onto the 32nd floor, she stepped out with a new kind of nervousness. She walked down the familiar hallway toward room 310, her footsteps muffled by the carpet. This time, when she knocked, she knew who would answer. Or she thought she did. The door opened, and Adrian stood there, now in a crisp white shirt and dark slacks, sleeves rolled, no tie. Behind him, the suite looked exactly the same, but the energy felt different. There were folders on the table, a second laptop open, and a sense of controlled urgency in the air. "Good afternoon, Maya," he said. "Welcome back." She held up the badge with a small disbelieving smile. "I guess I work for you now," she said. His eyes warmed just a little at the edges. "For a little while," Adrian replied. "Come in, we have a lot to do." As she crossed the threshold again, she had no idea that this temporary job, born from a wrong knock on the wrong hotel door, would pull her into a world of wealth, power, and decisions.
Back upstairs, she found him standing by the window, jacket off, tie loosened. A tailor was packing up a garment bag, bowing slightly before slipping out. Adrian noticed her glance. "They insist I wear a suit that actually fits for these things," he said. "Apparently the world takes you more seriously if your jacket does not look like it came from your father's closet." "You look fine in whatever," she said, then realized how that sounded and felt heat rise in her cheeks. "I mean, you look professional, in general." There was the briefest hint of a smile. "I will take that as a compliment," he said. "Come here, I want to show you something." On the table was a draft of a presentation, charts, bullet points, a title at the top, Staff Experience Initiative. "That is a terrible name," Maya said before she could stop herself. "That is why I need you," he replied calmly. "Read it." She skimmed the slides. Better training, more predictable schedules, quiet rooms for staff to rest between overnight shifts, tuition assistance for part-time employees. "You stole my words," she said softly, recognizing phrases she had used in passing. "I'd borrowed them," he corrected, "with intent to pay in full. I told you I take you seriously." She set the pages down, her chest tight with an unfamiliar mix of pride and fear. "Who are you giving this to?" she asked. "A group of people who believe hotels are only numbers on a page," he said. "I want them to remember that the people cleaning rooms and serving coffee are the ones holding the building together." He hesitated, then added, "There is a gala in 3 days, at the hotel. Investors, executives, press. I will be presenting some of this there." Maya's throat went dry. "A gala?" she repeated. "Yes," he said. "I need you there. Not in the spotlight, backstage, helping me keep everything moving, coordinating with staff, making sure I do not end up in the wrong ballroom." She almost laughed at that. "You trust me with that?" she asked. I trust you more than most people in suits who will be in that room, Adrian said. Human Resources will arrange a formal uniform for you. You will be working, but you should at least feel like you belong in the building. The word belong landed with unexpected weight. That night, after her shift ended and she rode the train home with sore feet and a tote bag full of printed drafts, she sat at her small kitchen table and pulled out her sketchbook. Under the weak light of the single lamp, she drew. She drew the lobby again, but this time she added more. A softer check-in desk, a corner with shelves of books guests could borrow, a staff entrance that did not feel like a hidden service door, but a real doorway with a real sign that said, in her looping handwriting, "Welcome back." Her phone buzzed once, a message from Adrian. "Do not forget to sleep," it read. "Tomorrow will be long." She stared at the screen, surprised by the simple care in the words. For a second, she let herself imagine what it would be like if this were normal, if her days were always filled with design and schedules and conversations that stretched her instead of draining her. If men in suits looked at her and saw more than a girl from a budget motel. Then she shut the sketchbook. He is your boss, she reminded herself. He is a guest. He lives on another floor entirely, in every way. But 3 days from now, she would see him in his world, not in rolled-up sleeves and half-empty coffee cups, but in a suit that actually fit, under bright lights, in front of people who spoke his language of numbers and power. And she had no idea that when his true identity stepped into that light, it would not just change how she saw him. It would force her to decide what her own worth was, with or without him. The night of the gala arrived faster than Maya wanted it to. By late afternoon, the hotel no longer felt like the place she knew. Florists rushed through the lobby with armfuls of white flowers. Technicians tested microphones in the grand ballroom. Staff in freshly pressed uniforms moved with extra precision, every "yes, sir" and "yes, ma'am" sharpened by nerves. Human Resources had given Maya a black suit that actually fit, a simple white shirt, and low heels that still felt too fancy for her. When she looked in the mirror of the staff locker room, she almost did not recognize herself. She clipped her badge to the inside of her jacket, where it did not ruin the line of the fabric, but still said, clearly, that she was staff. Back upstairs, Adrian's suite was a temporary command center. Garment bags hung on the back of the door, laptops were open on every surface. A copy of his presentation lay on the table, neatly stapled. He stood by the window, already in his suit. The charcoal fabric fit perfectly across his shoulders. The tie knotted cleanly at his throat. The transformation was subtle and complete. This was not the tired man in a gray t-shirt she had first met. This was someone who belonged on magazine covers. Maya paused in the doorway for half a second. "You clean up well," he said, looking her over with an appraising but respectful gaze. "The suit suits you." She smiled, trying to ignore the way her stomach flipped. "Thank you," she said. "Your evening is mapped. I placed the updated schedule on your tablet. I will be backstage with the hotel events team." He nodded, focused. "Remember," he said, "if anything starts to fall apart, call me before it breaks completely." "That is not how breaking works," she replied, but he was already checking his notes. An hour later, the ballroom doors opened to a river of evening gowns and tuxedos. Crystal chandeliers spilled light over polished floors. A string quartet played near the stage. Waiters glided through the crowd with trays of champagne. Maya stayed in motion, headset on, tablet in hand. She checked that the microphones were live, that the slides loaded correctly, that the teleprompter script was aligned with the printed version Adrian carried. She relayed messages between the hotel's general manager, the events coordinator, and the staff at the back doors. From her position near the side of the stage, she had a clear view of the room. Executives laughed loudly at their own jokes. Investors checked their phones between courses. A journalist from a business magazine examined the place cards at her table with faint boredom. At the center of it all, Adrian moved from group to group, shaking hands, listening more than he spoke. People deferred to him without question. The energy around him was different tonight, charged, expectant. Maya noticed it, but she pushed the thought down. As dinner plates were cleared, the lights dimmed slightly. The master of ceremonies, a polished man in a dark suit, stepped up to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice carrying easily, "thank you for joining us for this important evening at the Mercer Grand. Tonight, we celebrate not only a new chapter for this property, but for the entire Mercer group of hotels." Maya stood just off stage, headset pressed to one ear, eyes on the program. "After months of discussion and planning," the host continued, "we are honored to welcome the man whose vision and leadership have made this next chapter possible." The room settled, conversation stilled. The sound engineer glanced at Maya. She nodded. The next microphone went live. "It is my privilege," the host said, stretching the moment, "to introduce the new majority owner of the Mercer Group of Hotels, founder of Cole Capital, and one of the most respected names in global hospitality investment." The word struck Maya like a distant thunderclap. Owner, founder, investment. Her fingers tightened around the tablet. "Please welcome," the host said, stretching the moment, "Mr. Adrian Cole." Applause erupted, loud and immediate. Chairs scraped back, cameras flashed. Maya felt the world narrow to a single point as she watched Adrian stand from his table and walk toward the stage. The man she had eaten takeout with at his suite. The man who texted her reminders to sleep. The man who had never once mentioned the words owner or founder or one of the most respected names in anything. He climbed the steps with calm ease, adjusting his jacket as he reached the podium. The lights caught the angles of his face, turning him into a version of himself she had never seen before. In the shadows, just beyond that light, Maya's heart pounded. Of course, she thought, of course he is not just an important guest. Of course the man in room 310 is the one deciding everything, from staff policies to whether this building even exists next year. The realization did not feel glamorous or exciting. It felt like the floor beneath her had shifted quietly while she was not looking. Adrian rested his hands on the sides of the podium and looked out over the crowd. For a brief second, his gaze flicked toward the wings, toward where she stood in the shadows. Their eyes met. Maya saw it then, the awareness, the apology he didn't have to say, the question he didn't have space to ask. Then he turned back to the microphones, his public voice rising to fill the room, and the man she thought she knew disappeared behind the title that had always been him. Adrian's voice poured through the speakers, steady and confident. He spoke about markets and portfolios, about unlocking value and long-term vision. The crowd followed every word, nodding in all the right places. To them, he was exactly what the master of ceremonies had said he was, a man who owned things, a man who moved numbers that other people would never even see written down. From the side of the stage, Maya watched, numb. Then his slide changed. On the screen behind him, photos of bright lobbies and polished lounges appeared. Text followed. Hospitality, Adrian said, is not only about marble and glass. It is about how a space makes you feel after a 12-hour shift, or a red-eye flight, or a double job day. Maya heard her own phrasing